shall dare to dream. Oh. We shall hold our dream. Ukatiba ndio tiba. Ukatiba ndio tiba. Ndio tiba ya Kenya. Kenya. Yeah. Tumekuwa tukingoja, tumekuwa tukivumilia, lakini roho ya vijana leo imeamka. For years we fear the future, thinking hope was too heavy, but this nation is ours, and our dreams are valid. Had to buy two wrongs, had to choose lesser evil. Hearts za vijana ziko ready, tuko steady, tuko real. We shall dare to dream. We shall dare to dream. We shall dare to dream. Hata kama oga ilishika before. We shall rise. We shall stand. We shall stand. Ukatiba ndio tiba, ndio moyo wa Kenya. We shall dare to dream. Tukistan na justice. Tukistan na justice. Ukatiba ndio tiba ya Kenya. Ukatiba, tiba ndio tiba. We shall hold our dream. Ukatiba, we shall hold our dream. Ukatiba, tiba ndio tiba. We shall hold our dreams. We shall stand on justice. Justice Maraga, njia inafunguka.
Hatuna haja ya fireworks, hatuna haja ya sideshows. Tuliandika katiba yetu page by page, clause by clause. Isi ahadi ya muda, ni ndoto ya taifa. From Mathare to Marsabit, from Nakuru hadi Lamu. We shall dream,
we shall write,
we shall build
together.
We shall dream on together.
We shall dare to dream.
We shall dare to dream.
Hata kama woga ilishika before.
We shall rise.
We shall stand.
We shall stand.
Ukatiba ndio tiba, ndio tiba ya Kenya.
We shall dare to dream.
Tukistan na justice.
Tukistan na justice. Justice Maraga. Kenya inainuka, na turudi nyuma. Kenya inainuka, na turudi nyuma. Kenya inainuka, na turudi nyuma.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing this evening?
Great.
Good evening.
Great. It's good
Good
to
evening.
see everyone. Happy midweek to everyone. So we're glad to be here again on our Wednesday discourse. This is a civil discourse, civil engagement for diaspora and all Kenyans as we look forward to the 2027 general elections. So today we're tuned in. Our discussion, as you see the title, is Justice Restored, the Future of Law, of the Rule of Law and Accountability. A very primal pillar of the campaign. We'll be diving into this and we'll be looking at how the systems, the rule of law, are going to work under the framework of the 2027 campaign. This is a conversation actually about how systems actually work or don't work, and what it means for Kenyans both at home and across the diaspora. So I'll have all the panelists introduce themselves, and I would like to welcome the audience as well. Feel free to get ready to ask your questions at the end of this, and let's debate. per se, and brainstorm here as what Kenya should look like in a perfect place where we have rule of law and following the Constitution to the letter. So anyone can start. I'm Bianca, and part of the Moraga campaign, the communication department, and the rest of my panelists can go ahead and introduce themselves as well.
I'll start off. My name is Washington Osiro. I am part of the health pillar. I'm excited to be part of the Moraga campaign. I believe in his calling card, which is fidelity to the Constitution. I look forward to contributing in a meaningful way how we can move the country forward. So thank you for the opportunity.
I'm also Jared Onguso. I'm the Moraga Diaspora Coordinating Team Chair. I welcome everybody to this discussion. Hope we can get something from you. Welcome.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Joshua Buto. I am part of the DFW North America team, here to support the revolution that Kenya needs, and here to be part of the civil discourse to be able to begin the journey to change what we can before the real change happens.
George Agoki from the DFW area of the diaspora in North America.
All right. Thank you, guys. So we are going to dive right in and start the conversation. Justice restored, rule of law, justice, and accountability. Who wants to go take at it and tell us what justice means? Just that one word. Like when you think justice, what does that mean?
I think it's a word, and I'm stating the obvious that it's a word, but I think it is action. It is action towards fairness, action towards fidelity to a set of principles that everybody, that the society has agreed to uphold. It's a reflection of the broader society and how it feels about allowing access and equality and equity to all its members. So it's a lot of things, but I think at the end of the day, I think justice is a reflection of how society allows its members to be full participants in everyday life.
Anyone else have some thoughts on what it is? We can just jump in here. This is very...
I think if we look at the meaning of justice, generally it means a fair treatment under the law with the courts and or other disputes where you want to make sure that you're getting the fair treatment. If it is the government, you are the protection of your of the rights, the solve of conflict, and uphold of the rule of the law. So that's what I can say. Justice. Whenever you go to something, you want to see justice. Fair treatment has been done.
Yeah, justice also assumes that there is a standard against which actions of omission and commission are gauged against.
All right, and just to follow up on that, I think justice looks differently in different situations, and I think there has to be a base of what the law is, and then everything, it needs to be objective enough for whatever action that is taken to be referred to that law, to see whether that action should be deemed as innocent or guilty, or at least everything being held objectively without there being any bias, because bias exists, and we've seen that out here in our diaspora that is America. We've seen that in Kenya many times. But we want fairness regardless of social, just as fairness regardless of social status, um, and how pockets are looking. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that it is, and hopefully I didn't misunderstand you, but the idea of situational justice, that's an interesting construct. Yeah, when I think of fidelity to a set of principles, I think we talked about the assumption that there are standards that we uphold ourselves to. That is one. I think that is the crux of this entire discussion. We have, specific to the campaign, we have the Constitution, and the Constitution assumes that everybody is going to be held to the letter of the words in that document. I look at this discussion from a professional. Let me look at it from a professional perspective. I work in the medical device industry. I am a quality systems expert specific to ISO standards. ISO 13485 is the governing standards that govern medical device manufacturing. And then you've got ISO 9001, which is basically a general set of quality standards. But those standards assumes that the management is committed to upholding those standards. So we can put in place the world's best constitution. I think Kenya has one of the most progressive constitutions in Africa. But if the people charged with upholding the letter of the constitutions look at it situationally, look at it conveniently, then it doesn't matter. Similarly, professionally, I can put in a world-class quality systems for my organization. But if the management, in fact, there's a section in the quality in the ISO standards that specifically calls out the management responsibilities. Management must be committed to upholding those standards. If they are not, then those standards are just a bunch of words. And I look at this journey that we have embarked on as a reflection of a country that has a world-class quality systems, but the people charged with executing it are very, very they don't uphold fidelity to those sets of standards, which is why again, full disclosure, I supported William Ruto in 2022. I'm just going to come out and say that. Part of the reason why I did that was because I thought he was going to change the body politic and move us away from the dynasties where the rule of law was very situational. Well, it turns out that he wasn't able to do that. After the handshake, there's been a whole bunch of decisions that is made that prove that he's not committed to the Constitution. So my support for the CJ is rooted in the fact that he is very committed to the Constitution. He is going to be the manager responsible for making sure that people uphold the law, and he's going to hold them accountable. So I think, the Constitution is not situational. Yes, it's a living document, but it's not dependent on who is violated the law or who's being protected. It should be consistent and should be just for everybody. And I think the CJ's presidency will make sure that is the case.
Okay, all great answers. So, which will segue right into the first section of this. For me, I'll just throw this in. When I see justice, I have a very simple definition for it. It's the law is for the lawless. That's how I think of it. The law should be there for the lawless. And that's just about it. And all these things encompass that. And there's a great comment here from a viewer, from Morna. Being impartial with no bias is what justice means. Thoughts?
It's interesting the direction this is taking, particularly in the Kenyan context, where we claim to have 80% of the population Christian, 10% Muslim, and the remainder animists or the traditional religions. So if Kenya is predominantly such a religious country, one would expect an easy atmosphere for the rule of law, for practicing justice, because all these claim to be serving a God who is impartial.
Which begs the question then, can a Christian end up being non-ethical? If we're a Christian country, you come to the aspect of ethics when you're in exercising or executing the law.
I think Christianity is there for morals, not the actual the kind of other justice we are talking about. Particularly when we come to Kenya, you cannot regulate morality into which Christianity will try to do. What we are talking on justice more especially, for us now, we are, once we got into after 2010 constitution, which tried to address a lot of injustice which was there. One was where we had land issues, we had the government which was overreaching, and we made ourselves a constitution hoping that it will address all those things. But we still continue to have issues, more especially like, for example, if today the high cost of filings, lawyers now, it has become a good profession where people make money. So if you don't have money, you cannot get justice. So that's one of the barriers we have to get that to access justice in Kenya. You will need a lot of money for you to seek justice. If somebody, you have a dispute, maybe it's land, the lawyer needs a lot of money. So that has not been met. That goes to what Bianca you were saying. Now it just become for those who can afford. For the mama mboga, then you have no choice. Also, if you look at the geography, the courts in the rural, you have to go a distance. If, for example, those of us who are fortunate to be here in America, the court you can just get very accessible almost everywhere. Now in Kenya, you will not get a court in your village. You will have to go to a major town to get the court. That also has been a barrier for getting justice. Let's not talk about the courts, which are court cases which lag for a long time. So if you have, for example, land dispute, it will continue prolong because of course, money and everything, which is also another way of not getting you the access to it. So there are so many things, the backlogs, and now let also, once even if you get, there are so many people where the court can give you a good verdict, maybe you are supposed to be paid damages, the government doesn't pay, so it cannot even. So you have worked years to get finally, you think that you are getting justice, and then at that time the government doesn't pay because they feel again that they are in another class. So there are some of those things which are still giving us problems. So
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And this is where now we have looked at symptoms to the problems rather than the root cause of problems. This is where CJ Maraga comes in and says, we are, for example, everybody is saying, oh, our kids are not going to school. We are not getting healthcare. Either SHA is not working. But we forget that we made ourselves the law which will take care of that. All we need is somebody to follow the rule of the law. If we go the rule of law, the 2010 Constitution says education is a basic right. I don't know if it is mine which is crying that. Yeah, so it's a basic right. Health is a basic right. If we follow the Constitution, then we should not have an issue in solving some of these things.
Okay, so we've okay. So from what I'm hearing Jared saying, it's a whole. We've encompassed a lot of issues. He has pointed out a lot of issues. So let's try to surgically approach this and break it down and see what we can do. So from hearing your last couple statements goes hand in hand with this comment here, which says, is the law, constitution an issue, or is it the application of the law? So let's put that in the back of our minds as we kind of like break this down, so that we can go piecemeal by piecemeal. So
can I address that?
Yes, yeah, sure, Joshua.
I think it might be going towards the second question. If you just pull up the second question, I think go ahead and ask, and then I think I'll address all at the same time.
Okay, so I'll go through the first questions, and then you can merge the both of them. Okay. All right. So from the application of the law, we just defined the justice in practice. So what does the equality under the law really mean in everyday life when it comes to the common wananchi, the diaspora citizen? How do we measure whether justice is truly being served, which is the application of that law? And then where do we see gaps between the justice ideals and reality? Meaning, it's all good in theory, it's all good on paper. All the laws, the sentences are passed and everything, but in practicality, are these actually being executed? So then that now segues into Joshua's second portion for accountability in governance. So I'll let Joshua take it from here.
Yeah, I think definitely my contribution is going to definitely come mix what Jared was saying, and in addition to the number two part, because when you look at justice, like we said, justice is the application of the law without bias, right? Meaning, regardless of the social status, regardless of the situation, the same situation run twice with different players should have the same results, right? And so when Dr. Mona brings out, the part of the application of being the law, I agree that it is the application of the law because if it is, give me one moment. All right, sorry for that. Sorry, yeah. So like I was saying, my bad, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, the application of the law. So my thing is that oftentimes what we see in Kenya or even the whole of Africa is the fact that justice is relative. So just like Jared said, sometimes it depends on who has the money for the lawyers. But sometimes I look at it like, even if we held those who are of a higher status accountable, who's going to force them to be in those prisons? Let's say, for example, I'll take us back in time to the Golden Bag scandal. That is a court case that has never been solved. That's something that they just they let time run out, and nobody was ever held accountable for that. But the issue is, even if we were to hold those people in government accountable, what prison are they going to be in if they were to go to prison? Who's gonna actually execute whatever decisions are made? It's very easy to hold accountable or to apply certain decisions. For example, when Justice Maraga reversed the decision of the, what's it called, of the elections. But it's much harder when you're dealing with things like, much recently, for example, when this MP, what's his name, the Luo MP from I always forget his name, but the one who shot the DJ, and he was caught in 4K, and nothing ever happened to him. Like, in such situations, it's like
It's called Bapo.
Babu Wino,
Babu,
yes, Babu Wino,
yeah.
yeah. Babu Wino was shot, and everybody saw what happened. There was no debate of what happened. Who was going to hold him accountable? Yes, he's an MP. Yes, he's all this, but like, regardless of whether he's an MP, whether he's a common monanchi, whether it's all that. That's why a lot of times what people do, especially, just like Jared said, things that get dragged out, Kenyans revert to mob justice. That's usually the easiest thing. If you see a thief, you deal with them right there. There's no of like going to debate the facts. You teach them right there. And excuse me. And lastly, just to conclude my point, I think that the issue is we need better checks and balances. So if we have checks and balances where nobody's scared to be able to do their role without there being an issue, or somebody calling rank on them, I think we'd have a better system that holds people accountable. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. I think you're muted. Bianca, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Application and execution or implementation is where we're stuck at. What are we proposing here? Or let me ask it this way. What does a perfect executed system, because they have a perfect handbook, which is the Constitution, how easy is it, or how hard is it to implement the law?
Even if I go back again, I just remembered something. I know we're talking about like the whole religion thing, and the fact that we are a religious country. I agree. Yes, we might be religious, but I think it has to be something more cultural, more societal, outside of religion. For example, if we look at China, Japan, or the East Asian countries, whereby they may not necessarily have the strongest religious hold on each other, but each of them have respect to one another, whereby they have that societal understanding of respect, and nobody's above the law. Even I was watching a video where what's his name, Trevor Noah, was talking about how he went to Disney World in Japan, and you know how in America we have fast passes. In Japan, they don't. Even the CEO of the Disney World in Japan still has to wait in line. And I think it has to be one of those whereby there is a mental or just like a paradigm shift across the country, which would take generations to do. But to be able to understand that, hey, this is how we need to treat each other, this is how we want to do things. And once that is established, then it becomes easier to implement other things, whereby nobody's scared to be able to do the job of like, oh, someone might come and kill me over this, or someone might come and do XYZ. People understand that we're respecting each other's job. This is how we want our country to run. But that comes back to patriotism. People actually loving their country, looking at each other as one instead of just chasing the money. Because I think we've become more capitalistic than anything, and that has what has ruined our country, both financially and socioeconomically as a whole, and more so politically. So people chase politics to make money instead of politics to change the country, or leadership to change the country. And yeah, I think it boils down to some degree of that.
What makes people from Asia that we have referred to commit suicide when they think they have wronged society or they have disgraced society.
To me, honestly, I think that even to implement is not that easy. My personal opinion, because of the culture which we have adapted. During our times, not wrong, depending on your time, during our time going to school, we learn that in order to have a car, to drive, you have to work hard. You go through school so that you can actually be able to drive. So those who were driving are those clearly who were working hard. In fact, I tell people in primary, even for the ladies, to get this now the saloon pieces, I don't know what they call it. It was for the madam who has gone to school. Now, move forward. Today, we have changed that anybody is looking on getting a government steering somewhere. You have to have a shortcut in order to make, more especially in Kenya. So the people who you see who are driving big cars, dressing up, are the people you know that even school they didn't go. Not all of them, but I'm saying we are seeing that. Now, even from that culture now of how we were trained, kids are knowing that, hey, if I can get to government, there will be a contract, there will be something. That's how I will make in life. So I think that there was one guy, I don't remember, I've seen him a couple of times, and I totally support him that we have to take the constitution back to school. As kids, as part of the education, understanding why it is important to follow the rule of law, rather than just expecting people to start following when they see a complete opposite. I think two things which has to be introduced in school, what we're trying to I'm giving it in two ways. One, education need to be introduced, the constitution need to be introduced at school. The morals about corruption need to be introduced so that you know the perspective. Here is where we come, Prof, where the Christianity comes in. Much of the things we know is because we were going to church, to Sunday school or wherever, children's school. We were told what is to do, what not to do, about 10 commandments. So we grew up knowing this is wrong, this is right. That is the same culture which need to go, that everybody will know their rights, so that when their rights are violated, they can be able to pinpoint. Today, you go to a government, you need, let's give a simple thing, birth certificate, a passport. You actually believe, not even the person who is taking, who need to be corrupted, but you also believe that I need to get who I can corrupt to get me this thing. That is now missing, to know that these are our rights. So if we knew this, you work to any government office, you will say, hey, you take our taxes. I need this service. We don't have that today. We believe that we have to give something to these people for us to get something. Now it becomes that a culture. Another point, having leadership. If you don't have the right leadership, then nobody's going to follow. So people, and again, I got some young people might not know, they were only here Kibaki. When in 2002, we got lead of Moi, there was a belief that now the country was changing. Actually, the people were arresting policemen, traffic police when they were taking bribe. But it is because at that time they believed that the president Kibaki was against corruption. Afterwards, with his government, they started going to the same way. So leadership is very important. Once we know that Justice Maraga will not tolerate corruption, you will see people following the queue. So, and that's why it's important for us to have the right leadership. I say, don't only think that it will only be presidency. In fact, we need to go back to MCA level. Who are we appointing to these offices? That's where the issues comes from.
As you are talking, I was thinking of this ongoing discussion about, being the next Singapore. And I'm going to repeat something that I have talked about in the past. In the 60s and 70s, Kenya, and the data is there, Kenya had the same fundamentals as Singapore, really as the four Asian tigers. Specifically, Singapore had the British form of education that had been established leading up to its independence. It had a fairly educated workforce, again, thanks to the British. It was a very diverse society, different nationalities. And then it was also they were wrestling with corruption at the highest level of government. Lee Kuan Yew came into power and made a conscious decision. One of the chapters in his book, From Third World to First World, is titled Keeping Government Clean. He was very intentional about keeping his government clean. And he held his ministers and the bureaucrats accountable. If you could not explain how you got that big plot in the ritzy part of Singapore, it was taken over by the government. In other words, he audited his ministers to make sure that their wealth was commensurate with their pay. He made it he was intentional about setting an example and holding people accountable. Right now, Singapore is a global standard for excellent governance. It's pretty strict, it's very authoritarian, but it works. Singapore is one of the best governed countries in the world. Close, continentally, we have Rwanda, a country that was 34 years ago experienced genocide. Paul Kagame was very intentional. He said, we are going to change the culture of our country. 34 years later, less than, just slightly over a generation, Rwanda is the least corrupt country in the region, in East and Central Africa. It is I think, in the top 5 of the least corrupt countries in Africa. Kigali is the cleanest city in the world, again, because of intentional leadership. Every month, I think it's called Umuganda, people walk around the city, the country comes to a standstill as people pick up after themselves. They clean up. So the culture has been, the society has been acculturated to uphold values, and now it's just normal to pick up after yourself, to throw trash in the containers instead of just dumping it on the streets, and holding people accountable. So I think we can talk about having the best constitution in the world. We can talk about being the best English-speaking country in the region. But if we do not implement or enforce the laws that are already in the books, we are going to be having this discussion for the next generation. And I think that is where the CJ's calling card becomes something that we really need to push. He stood up to the status quo and nullified an election because it was not done, it wasn't consistent with the law. He stood up to power. He held the powerful accountable. Can you imagine that kind of man in State House? I think the ripple effect would be unmistakable. So I think we can, it goes back to leadership. We can talk about individual responsibility, but if you do your part as an individual, but yet you see the people on top and the people close to the people on top flaunting those very laws that you are, as an individual, are seeking to uphold, then over time it becomes very frustrating and you just give up and you just join them. If you can the saying goes, if you can beat them, join them. That is where Kenya is at right now. And the CJ is poised to change that paradigm.
But so, sorry.
I think it is important for us to distinguish between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, regardless of a religious or moral component or ethical component. Because the point is, you will have a very beautiful set of laws in terms of the letter of the law, but if they are not, what informs adherence to that law?
I agree with Washington, what you are saying, that the difference in all this you are giving the examples is the reader who intentionally sets the country to where it's supposed to be. And that's why you are a leader. So in all this, we can have the best law in terms of the constitution. Everybody keeps saying we have the best constitution, but we have not seen what for it doing anything for us. You ask yourself, what are we going to do in Singapore? We have not done with Kenya yet, so why are we going? We need to fix Kenya, not going to Singapore. We need to fix Kenya. By the way, do we know that Singapore might be a size of one of our counties? Is that what we are trying to square ourselves with? So all of these are just talks. Where if you want us to be like Singapore, just do it. Don't tell us. We will get there by just doing. But telling us you want to take there, coming from some of us who have tried to go to Canaan for many years and we never even got there. So we don't want to hear that. Just take us there.
That's fair. And and just to jump in, I was gonna follow up with you and say, and actually bring up a question. I don't know if you guys would agree to this. So from what I hear or my understanding, and even to some degree my perspective, so should we say that in order for us to have a cultural shift where justice is achievable, we need some sort of benevolent dictatorship? And if we do say so, are we going to be abandoning the parts of the constitution, because the constitution itself says a president can only be in government for 4 years or 2 consecutive terms? If that's the case, I don't think we've clearly seen 10 years per president is not enough to be able to bring any change. But then again, I don't think any of them have been benevolent. And so the leaders that we've seen in the other countries that we mentioned, rightfully so, even if we don't have to compare with them, they were in what's it called, presidency for ages. If you look at Gaddafi during his time when he was leading Libya, as much as he was a dictator, whatever, the country was doing great financially, economically, socioeconomically. They were doing great. If we're looking back at that, if you look at Rwanda, of course, there's some questions regarding the Western ties, but should we then maybe consider finding one leader and then have him be the dictator that we need until we have a society that's functional to achieve justice, for us to go back to now looking at democracy? Because it seems like democracy is fugazi, because clearly it doesn't really help us. It's just a theory that hasn't benefited any country that's been trying to get it.
So a little bit on that, okay, on the dictatorships aspect of it, I'm not sure if dictatorship, in my opinion, from a social point of view, if it in turn ripples to the citizens and the citizens feel that they can also behave away, because essentially you're suppressing them and you're telling them what to do. So you're turning them into robots. But like as Washington said in the case of CJ, because he sat on the seat, he respected the law, which is respect for self. He respected the Constitution, and we could see it through his actions and through his judgments and through the way he carried himself, because he never floundered or went away from the law. And he stuck by it. So for me, I believe if a leader, like the comment from Dr. Mona says, if a leader has enough respect for themselves, respect for the law, and respect for the citizens, then I believe that if he leads that way and sticks through by the law and is always consistent, then what happens is the citizens then feed off that, because they feed off of an example. They tell us basic thing, lead by example, lead your kids by example, do what they do, because they're like sponges, they'll adapt. So in our case right now, how we are in Kenya looking at it, I think the best word to explain is chaos, because you see leaders who take bribes, business people, like you mentioned, others commit crimes and they're never brought to book. So a citizen will be like, I can do then anything I want to do, because if nothing's happening to them, then obviously I can get away with it. So in my opinion, it's a reciprocity kind of relationship. If the leader is firm and follows the law, is self-respecting, ethical, then the citizens will feed off of it, instead of, I guess, drumming it down their throat and dictating them on what to do. And looking at the generation we have now, for instance, the Gen Z, some of us are millennials, some are boomers. On this panel, I think we're represented very well with about 3 generations. I don't think, for instance, the Gen Zs and the millennials are people you can really tell what to do, like give commands per se, because they want to have a voice. So in my opinion, leading by example would probably be the best way to do it. So any thoughts before we
before they jump in? I agree to some degree. My only thing is that fighting a whole system can be very exhausting, and we saw, like, for example, I use example just because that's the best I can do for now, or support my theories. But looking at, let's say, for example, Chris Musando, who tried to have an impenetrable voting system that was going to have the highest integrity that couldn't be defeated, only for him to end up dead. Like, being that one person pioneering change is a really hard thing to do. And we see a lot of times revolution takes years and generations to come up, but you have to start teaching them from the beginning. And yes, it would be great to be able to have someone in power to be able to show that, but you're fighting people whose entire career is built upon the old knowledge of what how they should be gaining wealth, and all these corrupt ways and all the networks. So crumbling down the empire, you're fighting the Senate, the House, all these people to be able to replace a system that might not favor them. unless you have, the revelation that's never seen, which is the mental one. And it is a task that it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying there's a possibility it can be done. I just think it would take, like, it has to be very strategic. So it's some of those that there's no one answer, but if it begins and it can be forced to some degree, I think it boils down to some benevolent leadership to some degree and outside of politics. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I think you're on mute, Bianca.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You can go ahead. No,
Yeah.
I heard you speaking, so I was like, you can go ahead.
So, I think as a leader, and this is what I've told many people, you cannot lead when you don't know where you're going. So as a leader, you should know where you're going first. Then it's your job now to bring others along. So as you're building even consensus, you should be at the forefront knowing where you're going. So sometimes when people know what they want to do, and they are strict into that, sometimes we categorize them as dictators because you have to be firm. So we have to differentiate what is a really dictator. Is it a person who is firm on where he wants to take his country, or is somebody who is messing up the country by just dictating what is not working? So some people might seem like, for example, our parents. When you will find a parent is very tough, you will say, "Oh, our daddy was a dictator because he wanted to do things." But as you grow older, then you come to realize that he needed us to be somewhere. So as a leader, you have to be firm on where you want to take the country or wherever organization you want to lead. But that should not be construed to be dictatorship. It is the firmness. Otherwise, you cannot get the whole consensus. Even if we start talking here, we cannot get the whole consensus that we're gonna go this way. You have to be a leader knowing where you're taking people, and then you convince them to go there.
And in all fairness, you won't have, it's a democracy. So you're going to have some dissenters. All you're trying to do is create an environment where people obey the law as written. And if the laws are, you see, that's the other thing, based on my professional experience, if the system is not working for you, then you change it. If the laws are, stifling innovation or whatever, if they are not working for the society as a whole, we change it. So I think there's this idea that we have to have perfection, quote unquote perfection. In fact, I think Bianca talked about the perfect system or the perfect scenario. No, I think it's just a system that works for the majority, and if it doesn't work, we change it. But holding people accountable to that system. If we do that, then I think we're going to make incremental steps towards, quote unquote, the Kenya we want. And it doesn't have to be, I think it doesn't take a long time. 10 years is enough to, hold people accountable. If you imprison a couple of, big shots for corrupt deals, if you hold people accountable for, extrajudicial activities, if you sack some of your ministers for getting bribes, I think the message is they're going to get the message. Just like when the FDA walks into my company and they see a violation, they will give us a warning. And if they come again and see another violation, they will give, they can shut us down. So I think we just need to understand that we are not looking for perfection. We are looking for fidelity to the set of standards that have already been established, that we've all agreed to. And then, we make it work for us. But if we don't hold people accountable to the existing standards, then we're always going to be moving the goalpost.
All right, thank you for that insight. And Dr. Mona also points out here that as much as we want to lead, have our leaders held accountable within ourselves, I believe holding ourselves accountable on an individual level to understand the spirit of the law will motivate one to adhere to it, avoiding relying heavily on our leaders for accountability.
Mhm.
So from this, I hear that the sentiment from this statement is, as citizens ourselves, we need to adhere to the law as well.
Yeah.
And I believe Moraga has a good initiative with the caravan, the Okatiba caravan that's going county to county, which is educating people and also educating people on their rights, number one, because a lot of people don't know their rights. A lot of people have never held the Constitution in their hand, not read one page, but to come to the grassroots level and explain it in layman's language that these are your rights, this is how you behave, civic education and civic discourses like this. And then once you know how you should carry yourself as a citizen, then I believe it would make it easier then for the leader to be able to lead, and then we can avoid Joshua's dictatorship. We can avoid going back to that, because we do know there are countries actually that cannot exist in a democratic society. They can't. They basically have to be led by an iron fist. So now we're getting down to the crux of how the diaspora comes in. We live in this country, North America, England, Australia, South Africa. Diaspora covers anything, any country outside Kenya, right? So we do know that, let's speak specifically, the ones on the panel here, we're from North America. We do see that when it comes to investigation and justice, they're executed quick. Everyone, there's hierarchy of command. If you get a traffic ticket, you know where to go. As a citizen, you have to pay this. So you have your you go to the county courthouse and you stay there 10 minutes, or you stand in front of a judge. The law is executed and the punishments are clearly laid out. So let's kind of do a comparison and see what Maraga's system would look like. And for him, it's kind of a easy road, I may say, because this is his forte. He's been Chief Justice, so he knows the law like the back of his hand. So execution, if you have a great team, then crimes shouldn't stall or remain unresolved. And let's see, what kind of failures do you think Kenya has that contribute to these delays? And what can they pick from the diaspora countries and the way they efficiently manage and execute the law? And how does the lack of swift justice then affect victims and their families on a larger scale?
If I take a shot at it, first, I also, as much as I agree with Dr. Mona, we are coming from a majority of people who think that the Constitution is another world, or a Greek book. So if you can only hold yourself accountable, where everything else is also should have to standard. If you go somewhere and you stay in a line and nobody's queuing, everybody is going that way. Are you going to hold yourself accountable? So I understand where Dr. you're coming from, but that's where I think first we need to take the constitution back to school so that our kids will learn and know what is right, what is not right, in terms of how the constitution is working. Coming back to what you were saying about how do we solve some of the things we have. One, I know that the term might be said many times that how do we reset? How do we start following religiously? Let me put the word religiously the law. Then most of the things will be sorted out. I listened to recently to the senator from Pushia, the Okiomtat, saying the constitution actually was expecting that the treasury to be an independent institution rather than part of the executive. And from his logic, that tells you that actually that is what was the constitution intending, but it has not been done so. We in Kenyan constitution, we have 48 governments. We have 47 county governments and one national government. But the national government, part of its executive, is the one which is in charge of Kenyan money. So here is where our also good or our lack of a name you can call our members of parliament, where they always were trying, where the way the constitution was made, which I don't know why they were making that you make a constitution and then you put a provision that the parliament will come up with the act to operationalize the constitution, where the members of parliament, when they get there on chapter 6, anything which was going to touch on them, they were tilting around it and making it impossible even to work. So if we had a very independent treasury which collects money, once it collects the money, then it allocates the money to the counties, to all of these 48 government county government 48 governments. The judiciary, up to recent, I know that when Ruto came in, if he did give him credit, that one of the things he did is actually to give a budget for the judiciary to be independent. I don't know, I cannot confirm if it was finally done, but that's what he promised to do immediately. Yesterday also is when the Ruto signed the law to the independency of the county assemblies to have their own money. Otherwise, they are supposed to oversight the governor, but the governor is the one paying them. So, so you see how all these things go. So I think if we follow the law, up to today, I still get amazed that a whole governor, a whole member of parliament queues at State House to get money or to get funding, when the constitution clearly says parliament are the one to appropriate the money. Parliament are the one to appropriate development countrywide. That is the constitution. But instead, you see them going to the president. The president actually, according to our constitution, if we could have followed, should have no powers. The budget making is in parliament. Parliament, if they were keen, now that's a story for another day we will discuss, of the people kind of leaders we take to Parliament. They are the people to know that this money we are putting into roads department, which exact roads which is supposed to be done. That's how they will oversight that, hey, we gave this money, why this road has not been done. Your member of parliament from Kirinyaga, from Kisii, should know that in this budget, we have passed this road and this is the money which will come. That's how they will go. Instead, I don't know if they don't do that, they go to the president. And you wonder under what power the president has to go around announcing developments, which budget. So the rule of law has been one of the downfall we are not following. If we can do that, I think we can resolve a lot of things. But once you get to power, which I hope that CJ will not get drunk with power, he has already tested some power and he didn't get drunk of it. But once you get to power, you don't want to follow the law because the law then becomes a pain in you. It becomes restricting you in some way. So everybody wants to have, and that's where we have the issue.
I think the benefit we will get from incoming President CJ Maraga is to go to the basics of implementing the Constitution. Because currently, as we stand, there's a lot of interference from the national government to the county governments, interference with roles, so that there is a clash of the roles of what the governors should be doing and what the national government or the president should be doing. And they are doing things, they are compromising their roles and therefore throwing the entire system of running the country into some sort of chaos, which in a way is a dictatorship, but informed by selfishness, selfish ambition from national government to the county government. And that is where the trouble is, because no one is trying to stay in their own lanes so that they're adhering to the rule of law. If we do not educate ourselves as Kenyans as to the benefits of the rule of law, we are simply wishing that we had a dictator to force us to follow the law. Human beings are moral agents. If they're educated and appeal to their own good conscience to see the benefits of following the rule of law, particularly if you're appealing to smaller populations, success will be on the way. But when our masses have grown, our population has grown to the extent that we have a few resourced individuals compared to the masses who are struggling, it brings a result of a dictatorship that is only prone to amassing wealth and sitting on the masses, so that the rule of law becomes kind of a nuisance to the leaders rather than an instrument of good governance. And particularly when lines are blurred between leadership or governance and individual needs, when we cannot distinguish, when leaders cannot distinguish between their own individual desires and aspirations and the roles of governance, when those lines are blurred, then even following the rule of law gets blurred.
All right.
Okay.
Let me just jump in real quick. So this is gonna be my last sentence before I call it tonight. But the what do you call it? Yeah, I agree. And just to add on to all this, it seems like what we are circling around is the lack of systems, and I think it is paramount that we move away from a project-based development plan every single time with the leader being like, oh, I brought this for you, you should thank me for it, or Hail Mary, or like, they do this, and then once the time is over and they don't get elected, then they have to take back. I think I saw something about that. And now going back to the part of implementing justice law and system and stuff, when corruption is so normalized from the leadership, from the presidential level, whereby he can go to an international news and be like, we lose 2 million or 2 billion every day, and looks unbothered by it, then that becomes a normal. Looking at NYS losing 791 million Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to about 7.65 million USD, which is quite a lot. That's not easy money, and that's not money that can just easily disappear. That means people decide, and it takes away from the spirit of what that money was meant for. So we end up out here looking for loans and stuff like that. We drive ourselves in a deeper hole, taking us way back from where we need to be as a country, development wise. And it's a matter of having systems that need to hold accountable. We have the EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption, which I haven't even had. That is, again, I can be held up. It's the most ineffective office I've seen, because I haven't had anything from it since back when they used to prosecute policemen in the road. That's the most they ever did. They didn't go past that, at least to my knowledge. I think they tried holding, holding meetings to, holding those hearings and whatnot, but really it didn't last. Because again, it's all a matter of politics. And the day we move away from politics and go towards development and systems, I think we'll be driving Kenya towards being a first world country. We have the potential. We just don't have the mentality or cultural readiness for achieving that. The more we earn, the more we can steal, even though I'm not saying we should steal, but like, we're shooting ourselves by hindering our earning potential as a nation. Yeah.
Oh, great insight. And so to wrap up this portion of it before we move ahead to another section of it, two-pronged questions, and essentially our leaders are able to circumvent the law to favor them. How do we envision that Maraga will be able to cap on that? And there is another comment here from Talisa. Hey, Talisa. Lack of swift justice makes people distrust the system. Let's kind of merge those two and try to explore those two avenues. Washington. In
Washington, you muted.
In your expert professional view.
I am muted, but okay. I have to jet soon, but the saying "justice delayed is justice denied" was on repeat as we were going through the last segment. So I think that's part of the problem. Is there's this habit of kicking the can down the road, or a performative reaction to the latest scandal, where there are announcements that are made, and the EACC, is in the news, getting ready to arrest some people. Some are resigned, some are quote unquote fired. And then after that initial hue and cry, everything just dies down. And the people who were at the center of the scandal never brought to justice. So I think, again, going back, how will the CJ change that paradigm? We've got one data point, and that it's a huge data point, and that is how he performs during the 2017 elections. He stood up to power. He made a ruling and held people accountable. And I am pretty sure that there were folks who were threatening him. I will be very surprised if he did this without any threats. So that's why I have hope that with the CJ we will have a different relationship with the law and justice and the swiftness with which people are held accountable.
Equally, I think Chief Justice has promised that he's going to respect the independence of each arm of government. Because most of the times the interference by the executive on the other two is what is eroding our justice or the dispensing therewith. And besides, is going to lead by example. See, leading by example is powerful because he's going to practice what he professes.
Thank you. And I'm just going to bring in some audience participation, and thank you for all the comments that are coming in. And if you have any questions as well, you can go ahead and type them in and we'll get them here. And later on, as we're almost ending the panel discussion, if you'd like to jump up on the panel and vocalize your question or sentiment, we will drop the link. So throughout this, there's one question that stands out. So all you've got to do is type 1, 2, or 3, depending on what your answer is on this poll. So how confident are you that Kenya's justice system treats everyone equally? So in the chat, you can just type 1 for very confident, 2, not confident at all, and 3, I've lawyered up emotionally. So essentially, how do you feel as a citizen of Kenya with the way the justice system is? So 1, 2, 3 is the answer there. All right, so poll numbers have come in, and it looks like we're tallying between not confident at all. All right, well, it just changed. 50-50. Interesting, not confident at all, and I've been lawyered up emotionally. That is a very bleak look at what everybody thinks Kenya looks like at this moment. It's not comforting, but there's comfort that we can make a change. So real quick, I'll go through this real quick before our esteemed panelists here have to dip off, but we'll continue until we get done. But we're down to now the diaspora. All right. Safety, diaspora, and confidence. All right. Because we invest in Kenya. We go back and forth. Crimes happen to us when we're traveling, or a number of things do happen. So a couple of things we have to tackle. How safe do diaspora members feel when visiting or engaging with Kenya? What role does unresolved violence play in eroding trust with the diaspora citizens? And how can a fair justice system make diaspora members feel safe to invest, to travel, and to exist? per se, because there are people who would love to work in Kenya part-time, work here part-time, invest. Let's address this real quick. Anyone's free to take a shot at it. How do we feel?
Okay, I think there has been, let's give credit where credit is. I think there has been a quite steps which have been taken. For instance, I know they changed. Now they allowed that there is online filing, e-filing, and you can attend the court via not physically being there. So that I think has also is some of the steps they have taken before. If you are, let's say you have invested somewhere and something goes wrong, what will happen is that they know that you have a few days, they will continue pushing out, and then your days will be over, and then you go back. Now that you can attend some of those things, even when you are from here, it should be one thing which I think has moved. They can do more. What we expect the CJ government to do is now to make another leap, to have a dedicated court which will handle the diaspora, so that then our issues can be handled in a different way, rather than being plunked into the rest of the people, so that we can see that justice coming quite early. On the side of the safety, we can't put our country down. We still think that Kenya is still a very good country. Kenya is still good. That's why we love. We go there. Those of you who have friends from other countries, which I would not want to mention, they have so much fear when they go. So Kenya is pretty good place, and anybody, we encourage people to go back, invest back home with no fear. These are the things we have to help to get over it. So I feel confident that all we need is just a little things which we can fix here and there.
So it looks like Jared just changed his vote to confident.
Yeah, when it comes to the
in a matter of seconds, he just changed his vote to confident in the justice system. Go ahead.
I can't bring my country down in front of the camera to tell people that it's I know it's a very good country and we love it. That's why we are interested to change it to a better place.
I think being patriotic is calling out the ills of your society. I love my country, but it has a lot of work to do. I know recently there was some spate of violence in Ahero, where there's this group of kids who are basically attacking the citizens. I mean, that doesn't inspire confidence. Let's just be candid.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot of work to do. I also love my country, and those two conditions are, can coexist. I can criticize my country and still love it. I think the problem is that we think that criticizing it means that we don't love it. And I think our leaders have taken advantage of that. So that's my take.
It is important for us to do a critique. When it comes, for example, to contractual obligations, there are areas which are glaringly wanting, where contracts are not respected as they should. And we can do a lot better. And how well do we feel safe in driving on the roads in Kenya? That's an area that is very wanting. It doesn't mean that we are not being patriotic. We are very patriotic, but we can do much better when it comes to environmental issues. Recent floods and, the blatant disregard to physical planning regulations and what have you does not, and particularly when we are hosts to UNEP, is an indictment to our country. It doesn't mean we are not patriotic. We are very patriotic, but Kenya can do better.
Maybe if I can add on, it's not even that patriotism. It depends on how we look. In life, you can look things in a different way. Some of us, we can look a glass half empty or half full. I try to look at it as half full, telling that depending on each time you go, if you were raised in the village where we used to have no roads, and now at least it's there. When we left Kenya, there were no those I think it's freeways they call it, or what. Now they are there, so there has been a development. Expressways. So there has been an improvement. We have to give it. There is something, and if you actually, any of you is here, when you go also to Kenya, try to cross over to our neighbors also, so that you can do so much comparative. So you cannot compare Kenya to America. You can only compare to the to the neighbors. So they're trying. So,
but that,
I feel
therein,
that the classes are
therein lies.
Thank you.
Therein lies the problem.
The problem, because the other day our president had the audacity of saying that we have more tarmac roads than our neighbors in the region, which was blatantly wrong. So when we compare ourselves...
Okay. Can you clarify that? Was it wrong in terms that he was lying, or the wrongness is the comparison? What is the wrong?
The statistics were wrong.
And should we be comparing ourselves to a country, or should we be aspiring to be better? The two different things. Are we going to compare and be complacent, or aspire to be better?
Well, in terms of comparison, this is where we are told that we should be comparing ourselves with South Korea, and not even Singapore, so that we aspire towards that end. Because when you compare yourselves with those that are at the same low level, what are you achieving? What are you benchmarking?
Thank you. And on that note,
so it says here, a glass half full means we can do better.
Of course.
Just
a lot
to
better. In fact, it's not even half full.
It's not. I think that is our way of pacifying ourselves, or making ourselves feel better. That, hey, we might, just to be blunt, we might suck, but we don't suck as much as South Sudan or Somalia. That is such an interesting comparison.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's our way of pacifying ourselves.
I still believe, maybe for a second for Alipato, I still believe that Kenya is a good country. There is no way my CJ will be a CJ in in a Sudan country. It's a good country, and
Nobody says nobody
and
says it's a
that is
bad
the
country.
country which is expecting to read.
Okay, can you honestly, Jared, as someone from the diaspora, when you travel and visit, can you honestly be comfortable and say, this is the Kenya I left? Or are you there like, okay, am I going to be safe? You have to wear a t-shirt because you have to blend in. No one can know that you came into the country. You have to come in the dark so that people don't know you just flew in, or else we've seen a number of our folks from diaspora who go there. They know they have money, they're robbed, they're killed, unfortunately, and those crimes have still gone unsolved. How, I mean, I'm not sure where where you see the thing working. I'm really just, and we're hoping that it works, but I can almost count. I can't even count on my one hand the positive things that are happening apart from the weather. We can grow food, and it rains, and that's just about it. But safety wise, everything's broken.
No, I disagree. Kenya is a great country, a very great country. They say if you have never ate food from somebody else, you will always think that your mom is the best cook. Okay? If you have traveled, you will know Kenya is a great country. In fact, I will say we're trying to bring it down. Kenya is a great country. When I go there and I see during my time, everybody depends on their time. I've been here more than 20 years in America. So from the time I left there and where it is now is a big change. There is a big change. You cannot, let's leave the social media aside because they're going to show you what they want to show. When you go to, you see those scribers going up in Kriman. Don't mind how they do, where the money coming from. When you see that even money has left somewhere, someplace, and now there are malls in Isiri, how can you say that Kenya is still at the same? Kenya is changing. Is very safe. Actually, I'm comparing other countries where you cannot even work. I've never had kidnapping of what. So it depends on everybody how they go. But fairly, there is a reason why we have a UN in Kenya. We have many things in Kenya. It's because other than not every place, okay, depending also. Remember that we concentrate, depends on where you're comparing. Are you comparing in Nairobi and other places, or are you comparing like my friend was saying that there was insecurity in Aero? I might not know that. What is happening in Nyamira, I might not know. So we compare on more, especially the gateway to Kenya in Nairobi. In many suburbs in Nairobi now, they are very safe, and things have been done. Let's give it the way it is, and with actually devolution, even as bad as it's been, we have seen other counties things happening. I encourage everybody go around in different parts. There are things happening. Despite all these shortcomings, Kenya is a very great. Bianca, just go there. You will have fun, Masai Mara, and all other these places.
And I get you. And before Professor speaks, I just wanted him to also add on to this. Let's talk about what just happened a couple of weeks ago, or that's ongoing this week, where a politician was out and he was attacked, and they claim that the attackers, or the goons as they call them, have now allegedly crossed the border and they can't find them. And the CCTV is very clear. So if Professor can explain that story so that Jared can kind of see what's happening, because this is a politician who has his bodyguards, who's went to an essentially safe zone, but the criminals were not apprehended, and now they've crossed the border. So why weren't they apprehended then? Why wasn't everyone there held for questioning until they figure out who did it? Because that's the first thing you do: seal off the crime scene, apprehend the suspects, and until you're cleared, you sit in that cell. So let's see how you explain that away, Jared, after Prof explains that scenario.
I think we should not be misunderstood, but we can clearly cite instances where things are broken down, like the one you've just cited of the senator being attacked in a posh place in Kisumu. And now 14 of those goons have escaped to the neighboring country. I mean, it sounds like lawlessness. The recent floods we had in Nairobi and Mombasa, and in Mombasa in particular, they attributed some of the illnesses to the flooding there. We are not saying that we have not made progress and development, but we must not be deluded to thinking that we are where we should be. We are very patriotic. Kenya would be in a better place than we find ourselves. And I just cited the issue of not honoring contractual obligations, particularly for some of us who are in the diaspora. You see, when you starve public universities of resources and they cannot pay the professionals who are working there, I mean, what you should even see the state, the physical state of some of the infrastructure we have in those institutions, public institutions, not to speak of hospitals, the state of some of the public health facilities. There is also the question of, just recently, this weekend, I think, is when in Northeastern, the floods with poor roads, the buses, people were stranded on the road for 3 days. They had no drinking water, food, and then we cannot sit complacently and contentedly and think that we are where we ought to be. There is a lot to be desired.
Prof, I could have maybe, I believe this is Isaac from Australia, if I'm not wrong. If you are, just let us know. Maybe you can come and help me. I think you almost answered most of these things. Let me say, on terms of...
Yes, Isaac, you can hit the link. Does he need the link? I can drop it down in the chat.
Just drop the link. Maybe you can join here. So, Prof, let me tell you one thing. First, on your first about the senator, I will not fully comment based on propagandas on social media, because I'm not a judge, so I don't have a benefit of having the story from both sides. So when it comes to politics, there is a lot to be desired. One, this is, of course, a senator is somebody we provide the security with. Where was the security when all this was happening? I would be interested to know why we provide security to somebody for the same reason and then is attacked mercilessly with nobody trying to help. That leaves a lot to desire. Secondly, I am not here to pass any judgment. As I said, I do not have both sides of the story. But this is an incident in Kisumu in one place. Does we say that the entire Kisumu is now a no-go zone? No, until we have everything, because people go to Kisumu all the time. So that might be an isolated incident. We don't know fully until we have the details, then we can comment. Or we can say that the issue is very public, it's unwarranted. We would not want to see those things, but calling it a failure in government, that is to be too harsh to our government. Secondly, you said about the contractual obligation. We had already said that that's an issue which is with our governments. But now, where I do not know if, for instance, I believe maybe somebody was denied. Let me give an example, a very live example, which is in the public domain. Our friend Miguna was ordered out of Kenya in, I think, back in around the last regime. Let me say that. Is that an issue? We would say, as a diaspora, if we go to Kenya, we would be ordered back. Is that a problem for Kenya, or was it a problem for that particular government? Okay, maybe I was misconstrued when I said Kenya is a good place. I by no means I endorsed the government. Kenya and the government are two separate entities. I was talking about Kenya as a country. Okay? I was not asked about the leadership. So when flooding, which is a natural cause, cannot make the country to be bad. You know, we have always had floods in Japan, in everywhere. We cannot call those countries that they are bad. Those are natural causes. In the terms of security, actually, my friend from the comment, I believe it's Isaac, he said, we remember during the campaign, somebody tried to shoot our President Trump. Do we call America that is now bad in the security? Those are isolated.
Yeah, this is Lisa, yes.
Yeah? So those are isolated instances. So Kenya, as I said, those who are watching and those who will watch, Kenya is a good country. Those of us who are here, we welcome to Kenya, invest in Kenya. Things might not be going because of the regime, which we can always change. We have an opportunity next year to change if we feel that things are not going right.
All right, and we thanks Elisa for that comparison that there's danger here. And she's also from the diaspora and says, I felt safe in Kenya when I went compared to here. They would check bags, cars, purses, etc. before entering into establishments, which they do not do here. So from someone who's visited recently, they do feel that there are safety measures put in place. And they reinforce that the lack of security on their end does not necessarily speak for the whole of Kenya. So from this comment, sounds like there are pockets of Kenya that would be safe for someone to travel, and there are pockets that are unsafe. So it's not to support Jared's about 25%. Not the entire Kenya is at a security risk, but truly speaking, the 85%, we see a greater problem. And a diasporan also says, Lisa, there's a great sense of community in Kenya that cannot even be found here in the States. So they are pluses, really. from people who travel back and forth from Kenya, but we want them to remain pros and not cons. We want to see more pros. I'm not sure what happened to our other two panelists as we come to the closing part of this discussion. And I think from this discussion, I've heard about 3 or 4 more topics that I have pulled out because I feel like everything is problematic. So we have a lot of stuff to cut down. So looking at it through the campaign's eyes, the most important part of it, we have talked about resetting. We've looked at the problems. We've talked about going back to what it was, because we've identified before you try to reset or fix a problem, you've got to identify it, and that's what we've done for almost 2 hours here now. So now we come to the restore and the rebuild aspect of it. What approach will the candidate be taking in restoring trust in these institutions? What steps are needed to rebuild public trust in justice systems? And how do strong constitutional principles anchor a fair future? And what can the diaspora contribute to building a justice system that works for all? And comments are also welcome on this section here, which is the most important, because now the work has to be done to go back to ground zero. Take it away.
Okay, I take it again. Not controversial. One of the disappointments has been the diaspora. The diaspora has been a big disappointment to helping even the country to move forward. One, we idolize these people when they come here, even though we know that they steal our money. When they come here, we hold them like kings, like queens, instead of, for us who know the truth, instead of saying you're not even supposed to be here. So, but instead we will be the one supporting them. That's one of the disappointment. Another disappointment is we don't participate. We only participate in WhatsApp and in social media. We don't participate to change our country. Okay, even when we want to, you will be surprised. Even in diaspora, where you think that people now know much, that's where ethnicity comes in. That's where you find that they are looking things from which community they come from, instead of looking for the right leadership. So diaspora has been also a major disappointment. We have also fallen sort of the glory that when we go to the country, back to Kenya, we are also ahead to see that this is a very small change to bribe. We are also bribing our way. We have to face these things as one of I believe Dr. Mona was saying. That's where he was saying we have to start accountability from us. We are the same people who bribe for our brothers and sisters to get the jobs because we can afford. So how are we helping the situation when a poor kid has gone to school back home because he's from a poor background? They will not get a job. For you, because you have money, you will pay so that your brother or your relative will get a job. So are we also not enhancing that corruption? We are also not helping. Okay? So, but we can help. How do we help if we wanted to help? In fact, without even saying which candidate is right and which is not right, can we even define what is a right candidate? Then you can look at the field and say this one will fit this. Are we able to do that? Or we are just looking at at social media and going with social media. We should be also looking at being involved in the politics of our country. One of the things which we are asking this as they go for change of the law, mostly for the upcoming election, we want diaspora to be considered as one of the minorities, as one of the special groups, whether it will be special by providing expertise, so that we will be also involved in the politics of a country by getting nominations. Why would you nominate everybody else and you leave a group, which is a small group? We are a minority. We should also be considered. If these people can do that, then we can also be able to help the politics back home by going. If you are an MCA in Nairobi, in Kakamega, in Kisii, even if you are one sane person who can at least bring sanity into that assembly, before you know, one will be from Muranga, another one from somewhere, you will start bringing some sense. And now we will start changing the country bit by bit. So we have a lot to can do. We look at the right candidates, as we have said, many candidates who have come up, who can see that this one can do that, contribute to that campaign so that you enable them to reach out and send their messages rather than just only supporting in social media. That's what I think we can do as a diaspora, demanding the right things, knowing the rights. Like now, for example, in the Constitution, we should have registering as a voter in according to our Constitution should be all year round, except the only time they announce that they are closing for maybe checking the register, cleaning up the register, or which, as we not involved, if there is a by-election happening in your area. In diaspora, which is actually, those who don't know, we are constituency number 291, we only vote for the presidents. So there is no election, by-election, which is happening in county number, constituency number 291. Why should we not be having registration going on all year round? In
And
this
that
era, why, if I can apply for my passport electronically, why we can't register from here electronically?
And I believe that question will be answered next week. We're tackling that question next week because we are going to tackle the subject of voter registration and the issue of diaspora not being able to be actively involved and what steps can be taken.
Yeah, we will
to
discuss that one.
ensure, yes, to ensure that we can all be able to vote. I mean, we have the right to. We're Kenyan citizens, so we should have the right to.
Yeah, we will talk about that. This is what we call suppression. Actually, every government will not want diaspora to register because if you can think and if you cannot buy the slogans, they will not let you vote. So that's why each government will make sure that you don't register. But we will discuss that next week.
Yeah. So I want us to listen to a clip because from what I'm all hearing throughout this discussion that we've had as we start to wind down is that we're looking for a candidate who can actually adhere to the law, follow the Constitution by the book, and execute it well, and have the people around him execute it well. Now, I want you to hear if you were a first-time voter or if you were being introduced to the candidate and you heard him say this, would you be convinced that he is the right candidate for you and the right candidate to execute this topic that we've been talking about today, which is restoring justice and accountability? So I'm going to play that real quick for you here. And
Bianca, you can take the two panelists to the.
okay. I was just about to ask if they were going to be.
Yeah, already.
Okay.
Okay.
It looks like they stepped out. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought they were just on mute, trying to gather their thoughts. Thanks for that, Jared. All right. So let's listen to the candidate in his own words. Sometimes you need to hear it from the candidate and see what his thought process is. So here we go.
Namuna nijua mimi siwezi kutishwa. Mimi sitishi na mtu wowote, naogopa Mungu wa mbinguni peke yake.
Okay, I'm going to play that one more time.
Namuna nijua mimi siwezi kutishwa. Mimi sitishi na mtu wowote, naogopa Mungu wa mbinguni peke yake.
What does that tell you about the candidate when you hear that one sentence?
It tells you a lot. Recently, he was criticized because he had mentioned that Kenya is a failed state. You see, that summarizes some of the things we have been talking about. And that's why those questions you paused here, he would be the right candidate to approach those failures in terms of redressing the failures. But when he says so, he needs to be given a chance to explain himself, because the current leadership were indicting him for claiming that Kenya is a failed state, and therefore he should not be accorded the benefit of leading a failed state. So there's a lot loaded in that sentence. And I think from what he has said, with that courage, he will be the right candidate to spearhead the redress from this apparent failed state status. Of course, it may sound controversial, but personally, I think if you appreciate the last segment we discussed about some of the failures we have seen in Kenya, we can actually address those issues and support his candidature. And I'm glad that he has that courage to face the realities that we are facing in Kenya.
Okay, and before Jared puts his thoughts in, I want him to also watch this clip and the viewers to watch another clip, and then he can combine his thoughts with this, because this is what the citizens of Kenya feel about injustice. So let's just take a listen to what the citizens on the ground are feeling right now, the state of life as they see it.
Of recent, tumeshuhudia many injustices. Now, I want to ask a question. I want to pose this question to you, David Baraka. Wakati ulikuwa CJ, kuna mambo mengi yaliendelea na tulifurahia kazi yako. What reforms will you bring, especially on land issues? Unaona watu wetu kule Mau watu wetu kule Ang'ata and some parts of Kericho County, and especially mambo ya tea estates, watu wengi especially Gibsons are squatters ambao ni unseen, ni kama wako wengi
land issues hii ya Kapkate amini maona ingine. Tuko na ripoti ile ya Ndungu ambayo alisema vile tunatakikana, iko ingine tutaangalia hii kitu. Mimi nataka kuelezea ni kwamba mimi shida ambayo tuko nayo kubwa ni ule wizi wa mali ya umma, ufisadi.
Okay, where do I start from?
Anywhere.
Prof, this is where we are not supposed to watch social media. Okay? I can confidently say this. At no time, CJ has called Kenya a failed state. He has never said that. And he can never do that because that is a country where a few years ago he was the president of one of the governance of Kenya. So I don't imagine him to be a president of a failed governance of Kenya. So he never said that. These are social media changing things to make it look. There is a very big difference. And Prof, I know you know this. If I say don't be stupid, does not mean that I've said you're stupid. What CJ said, the signs of what this government, this administration is doing are signs of a failed state. Signs, not that Kenya is a failed state. That's a very big difference. Okay? It's just warning us that if we continue the trajectory we are going, we are also going to fail. But we have not failed. That's why we need to rescue Kenya before it gets into a failed state. Okay? I wanted to clear that. Okay? So at no time he has ever said that Kenya is a, he knows that Kenya is a very good country, can never be a failed state. Okay? Coming now to at the stake at what he was saying, you know, there are so many people who would tell us they don't fear anything. Recently, a senator in Olakalau told the president that he doesn't fear him. You know, there are so many people who have said these things. But the distinction is that you can take CJ's word. I know that many will agree with me that when it comes to the integrity and the character of CJ, it's immutable. You cannot match it. So if he promises us, and now that is a time of giving promises, some have promised us a lot of things, which once they promise us, it's up to you if you take it to the bank or not. But what CJ will tell us, we can take that one to the bank that he will do it. Okay. I know that the questions have come. I want also to clear this because I've seen some of people saying that he did not fight corruption while he was the CJ. Next week, I don't know if it's whenever time I will get the host a video where he explained why there was difficulty in dealing with corruption in the courts. And this is very important for people to know. Our court system, just because you saw somebody shooting somebody or killing somebody, you don't create your own case and prosecute that person. There is a prosecutor. There is a person who is coming. The court system, they hear our disagreements, our cries, when you go there to seek justice. So once you go there, they are the arbiter, where they will give, you might like it or not, justice to both the accuser and the accused. So what he was saying, yes, from the public, you can see that this person has stolen, he has brought to court, but you bring no evidence. A judge cannot rule based on their feelings. They base the constitution with looking at the evidence. So where we have been having problem is at the prosecution, the people who investigate, and then they will go to court, to the magistrate, and give the evidence. If the evidence is substandard, there is nothing a magistrate or a court of appeal judge can do. So that need to be understood. And he explained that very clearly. I would like to have that video so that he was telling by then I think the prosecutor was Chunga or somebody. When they tried to say, oh, the courts are doing this. These are the same people who are not bringing a clear evidence. We cannot judge based on emotions. So it's a different things. That's what I wanted to put across for those who saying he did not. He clearly told them what they need to do. And that is what he intend to do, because he knows these criminals, you have to take tangible evidences. Don't take cases just for show off. You know? That's
Yes,
where
thank
I think there's something else you wanted me to respond to.
No, thank you, Jared. So we have those videos in the Rolodex. So
Yes.
we'll break them down piece by piece, and we'll pause frame by frame and break down every phrase so we can gain a better understanding as to what his answers were. I think sometimes when we listen to the news, we don't listen keenly, but Jared, for one, and Professor Goki are very keen listeners. They don't just listen to listen, they listen to hear. I mean, they don't just hear, they listen. Sorry, the other way around. They don't just hear. So we'll break those. We have all those videos in the Rolodex. We will break them down frame by frame and have some objective analysis and comments and outlook on what they are. So real quick, before we close out, as you're gathering your closing thoughts, before we close out, I just want to run two quick more polls. We got caught up in the show and we didn't do that. I just wanted to find out from the diaspora crowd, because this is all data that's being collected to see what needs to be done, what systems need to be put in place regarding diaspora citizens. So have you or someone you know in the diaspora experienced safety or legal concerns? Press 1 for yes personally or someone I know, 2 for no, and 3, when I go to Kenya and visit, I just pray and move differently. So whichever answer there applies to you in regards to knowing someone from the diaspora who's experienced, you as a diaspora citizen have experienced safety or legal concerns. So we'll just answer that like real quick and comment on it. And I just want to see where we're placed. Wow. Now this is very interesting. I'm not sure whether these diasporans are being completely honest, because they're people who've been fighting about land. That's a legal issue. There are people who've lost loved ones and haven't gotten justice. That's a legal issue. And I'm pretty sure you know someone or a neighbor. So it looks like you all are content with the way the justice system works for you as a diaspora citizen. Is this what I'm hearing?
The question is someone you know or personally, and also not social media. I keep saying not social media. The question is clear: personally or someone you know.
So let me ask you a candid question, Jared, as you sit here. Have you not heard or seen of people who've been duped out of land, diasporans who've invested, who've been duped out of land, or who've invested for buildings that they haven't gotten, or who have loved ones who mysteriously passed away or had crimes done against them, and they have yet to find out who the criminals are behind the system, the crime or injustice? You want to tell me that you have absolutely never heard that before?
I have had many cases, many instances, okay? But you lead the question and answer what the question asks. Is personally or someone I know? No, I don't. But say yes, I hear so many stories.
Okay. Well, being content is a great thing. That means everybody feels very comfortable to invest, not second guess or do anything, and they feel that the justice system is working for them so far in the diaspora. And I hope it continues that way. Well, that's positive because our viewers here today haven't had that experience. All right. So I'm going to stop that poll and do the last one. What would improve your trust in Kenya's system the most? That's the last poll. What would improve your trust in Kenya's system the most? 1, faster justice and investigation. 2, strong anti-corruption enforcement. 3, equal treatment under the law. 4, all of the above and some.
All of the above.
So you put either number 1, 2, 3, or 4 would be the answer there. And let's see what that poll brings out for us. All right. So equal treatment looks like is there, but the topmost is all of the above. So it looks like there's a systematic problem where there's a larger issue, and some of the issues that we did not even touch on tonight, because tonight was just an opening of the discussion, of the discourse of this pillar, which focuses on the law and the Constitution and the execution of the law. Thank you so much for everyone for voting. This insight helps with our data analysis and also to help the Diaspora Committee look at what is important to the diaspora citizens. So thank you very much for participating in the comments, the votes. And if you have any other questions, you can put them in the chat. If you have any topics that you would like us to focus on specifically as it relates to the diaspora, please feel free to put them in the comment. And in the YouTube on the YouTube platform where this is streaming, you can always comment under the community post. There is a community wall under the CJ David Maraga YouTube page. There is a Facebook page as well. And the panelists up here do have Facebook pages. And for those of you who have not joined the Maraga announcement pages on WhatsApp, or on social media, please go ahead and follow them. We'll go ahead and post them on the community wall on the YouTube page, which is the most accessible page. So like, share, subscribe for notifications. We will be dropping all that information there so you can be kept abreast with what is going on with the campaign. So I'm just going to take this poll off of here. And as we close in, just a couple updates on what's happening right now on the ground. And my fellow panelists can chime in real quick and use it as their closing statements as well. The campaign has been going around the counties. We are on County 41 right now, which they're wrapping up this week. The Ukatiba Caravan has been going county to county to speak to the citizens and the residents of every county to figure out exactly what is the problem, or what are the problems, or what is it that they would like to see changed within their communities. And a lot of feedback has been come in. And if you go to the Twitter page, it's DK Maraga on Twitter, on X. You get daily updates as well, and the YouTube page will start having reels of what work has been done. So right now they are in County 41. Tomorrow they'll be in Siaya County, and then they'll wrap up the week in Kisumu County. So a lot of good work is being done on the ground, mobilization, and the way you can join and be part of this process is to first make sure that you are a registered voter. You can go to the iebc.or.ke, and we will be covering this step by step on how to be a registered voter from the diaspora and everyone else who wants to vote as a Kenyan citizen. But go through, this is apparently your homework for this week. Go and check on your citizen.gov account. Make sure all your passport, your IDs, and all your stuff is the same. And then check on the verify.ibc.or.ke. These young people did start a very good initiative called Niko Kadi, meaning I have my card ready to go and vote. So let's do the same. So any closing remarks here before we close out? Good sirs.
Okay. Now, first, I would like to thank all the viewers and the hosts for hosting us. Good questions. It seems like there's a lot to discuss. Time not permitting, there's a lot we can talk about when it comes to politics, and that's one way we can start shaping our country. On the Ukatiba Caravan, we are doing very well. On county number 41 to already few hours to start tomorrow. As we go this, I want to remind the people that the campaign is planning to cover all the 48 counties. That is after the county number 47 in Nairobi. The CJ will be adding to the diaspora, more specifically North America, for also not leaving the diaspora out, to continue the mobilization for registration. So you're welcome to join any of our social media. As we said, we have the WhatsApp on North America for Maraga, and all those other streams which are already been posted there. This one live is a weekly for now, and any other day where it will be a special when the candidate will be available to also participate in this one. more especially when we slow down on the Ukatiba caravan. So join us. Let's try to see if we can make the right choice. We believe that David Maraga is the right choice and is the one to take the current government home. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Okay, and Prof, any closing remarks before we head out?
I believe very strongly that CJ Maraga is the right candidate to help us start right. Because even at independence, when we were fighting the three evils we identified, ignorance, disease, and poverty, if we had started to address the issue of the rule of law and accountability, we would have made giant strides today. And so we have another chance here with this candidate to really reset the country so that we are on the right footing. Because if we don't have our software right, there's no way we can run the country. So we need to restore the rule of law, justice, and accountability. That way we will be able to fight the ills that bedevil the country, Kenya. So it is my hope that people will be well disposed with his candidature so that we start right, or we restore confidence in the governance structures we have in the country.
Thank you very much, viewers and panelists. And Joshua in Washington had to step out. But thank you very much. And we look forward to more of these civic discourses, regardless of party affiliation. This is not about party affiliation. This is about bringing Kenya together as one. So shoot your questions to us and your comments, what you'd like discussed, what your concerns are. And as we wrap up today, one thing that we can collectively agree on is that systems matter. Rule of law, justice, and accountability are not abstract ideas at all. They determine safety, fairness, and trust in a country. The Maraga 2027 pillar on systems, rule of law, and accountability is rooted in the belief that Kenya can only function effectively when institutions are independent, justice is fair, and leadership is accountable. This is not just a local issue. It affects every Kenyan, whether at home or in the diaspora. Thank you today for our panelists and everyone who joined us today. And this conversation continues beyond this stream. Continue the civic discourses at your kitchen tables, your dining rooms, your phone call conversations. We'll change Kenya one step at a time and together. Thank you and good night until we see you next week. Have a great week and a great weekend. Good night.
Good night.
All right, thanks.
Nandi, I, as the young person from Kimilili constituency, we must ensure that the people of Kimilili get what they deserve. We must ensure that all the development, we must ensure that security, we must ensure that healthcare and even education has been given a first priority so that the people of Kimilili can also benefit. Esasa kama zinakange, esasa nizema bonga. Mara Kimilili nene sensola basimba we Kimilili. Wawela abalinda kendere mheshimiwa Maraga. Lakini kabla nilete Maraga, DJ, tunaomba ucheze wimbo ya Mwananchi, 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 Mwananchi. DJ.
Chukua kura, chukua kura, chukua.
Ameleta kipande, mnachukua kipande bure kwa sasa. Hakikisheni mumeenda pale mmepata kipande ya bure.
Yangu ni moja tu. Waambie vijana, akina mama wazee wachukue kura kwa sababu hii kura ndio silaha yetu. Na hii silaha tunatumia kufanya nini? Ya kuua shetani anaitwa ufisadi. Na kuua shetani anaitwa ukosefu wa ajira kwa vijana. Ujiandikishe kama wapiga kura. Kwa sababu gani? Mwaka huu ujao 2027 kura yetu itakuwa ya maana sana. Hatutaki mtu hata mmoja akose kupiga kura mwaka ujao.
Kura, chukua kura, kama huna kura.
Haki sawa, tunalijenga taifa kuwa bora.
Yotiba ya Kenya, Kenya. Tumekuwa tukingoja, tumekuwa tukivumilia, lakini roho ya vijana leo imeamka. For years we fear the future, thinking hope was too heavy, but this nation is ours, and our dreams are valid. Had to buy two wrongs, had to choose lesser evil. Hearts za vijana ziko ready, tuko steady, tuko real. We shall dare to dream. We shall dare to dream. We shall dare to dream. Hata kama oga ilishika before. We shall rise. We shall stand. We shall stand. Ukatiba ndio tiba, ndio moyo wa Kenya. We shall dare to dream. Tukistand na justice. Tukistand na justice. Ukatiba ndio tiba ya Kenya. Ukatiba, tiba ndio tiba. We shall hold our dreams. Ukatiba, we shall hold our dreams. Ukatiba, tiba ndio tiba. We shall hold our dreams. We shall stand on justice. Justice Maraga, njia inafunguka.
Hatuna haja ya fireworks, hatuna haja ya sideshows. Tuliandika katiba yetu page by page, clause by clause. Isi ahadi ya muda, ni ndoto ya taifa. From Mathare to Marsabit, from Nakuru hadi Lamu. We shall dream,
we shall write,
we shall build
together.
We shall dream on together.
We shall dare to dream.
We shall dare to dream.
Hata kama woga ilishika before.
We shall rise.
We shall stand.
We shall stand.
Ukatiba ndio tiba, ndio tiba ya Kenya.
We shall dare to dream.
Tukistand na justice.
Tukistand na justice. Justice Maraga. Kenya inainuka na turudi nyuma. Kenya inainuka na turudi nyuma. Kenya inainuka na turudi nyuma.
ukatiba, ukatiba.
Ukatiba na tiba, ndio tiba ya Kenya. Katiba. We shall dare to dream.
Oh.
We shall hold our dream.
Ukatiba ndio tiba.
Ukatiba ndio tiba. Ndio tiba ya Kenya. Kenya.
Yeah. Tumekuwa tukingoja, tumekuwa tukivumilia, lakini roho ya vijana
leo imeamka.
For years we fear the future, thinking hope was too heavy, but this nation is ours, and our dreams are valid.
Had to buy two wrongs, had to choose lesser.